Hello guys, today we have a list of top 5 new features in critical ops 1.8 Scattershot Update. Número 5, Friendly Fire. Número 4, Mirrored Map. Número 3, Flossing. Número 2, 670. Honorable mentions, Bonk. Número 1, Jihad.
Nah, but let's actually talk about it. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little weird. My throat is dry. I haven't sucked up the devs in a while. So the biggest thing, as far as the devs themselves are concerned, because it has priority in the patch notes, the biggest thing seems to be the Clan Rework. And like, I'm sorry, but I can't say much about that because I'm very much not the target audience for it. Like, and I'm also not the target audience for aiming, apparently. Back in my day, old man yells at the cloud incoming. Back in my day, clans were designed around competitive. And as far as clans and their current functionality are concerned in COPS right now, they don't have like any other feature besides like showing, oh yeah, I am part of this clan. So it's a comp thing. It's not a, we have a clan war, we have XYZ game mode to play with your clanmates. Therefore, for now, I think it's not that spectacular. It's cool, there's a new UI, it's been very bare bones ever since it got introduced like fucking 10 years ago almost at this point. So it's great that this is getting touched on, but I think this isn't really the big clan update. This is more like, oh, we're going to start reworking clans into something more casual adjacent, right? To the point where maybe there's a clan war, maybe there's some other mode or some other way that clans are useful. Currently they aren't, therefore I like it that they are touching on it because I dislike how bare bones they were looking for so long, but it hasn't happened yet, so I can't really rate that. But there's definitely potential to improve them further down the line. Then the next thing, I would never die obviously, like every single time that I die in this video is obviously only to show the death info screen, just so you're already aware of that. I could play this perfectly. See, look at my movement. I could play this perfectly if I wanted to, but I want to show you the death info. Thank you. So there's lots of info on it. I like it. This has also been very long coming. Speaking of which, from the clans, it's very good. I like it. It's obviously not a solution for like networking shenanigans where you hit like 18 bullets and non-connect or like 2 connect. That's not a fix for that, but it's very good that there's more transparency. I wish we had something like this in Ranked. Maybe not exactly once you die, you get like an exact breakdown, but maybe after the round is over, you can check back on like how much damage you dealt to who in the round, stuff like that. I think this is very useful for Ranked as well, especially knowing which grenades that you were throwing had impact, which hadn't. That's a lot of learning curve, and as long as we don't have something like a replay mode, where you could like full-on rewatch that in retrospect, just having like a little window that tells you, oh, this nade that you threw dealt like 20 damage to this guy, 25 damage to this guy, or that nade dealt nothing. Like, that's information that's really important and that currently just isn't available to players. So yeah, I hope we get a ranked equivalent of this eventually, but this is a very cool thing still, and I'm very glad that they did it. Then the next thing is Black Market, which, yeah, I definitely see where they were coming from. So in case you were not aware, because the update is still fairly new, I don't think it's in beta at all. What Black Market effectively is that you can take skins that you don't want, and you put them into like a UI thing that looks very similar to TradeUp, and then you get a credit type of currency in exchange for them. You would think, first glance, oh, that's useless because we have Marketplace. But the reality is that I can't aim for shit. The other reality is, the way Marketplace works is that there's a minimum price of 10 or 11, maybe. There's a minimum price. And you can't really get below that unless you're selling multiple items at a time. But maybe you're just trying to get rid of one tier 1 skin or one tier 2 skin. Now, the problem is tier 4 skins are already reaching minimum price on many occasions. Not all of them, mind you, like many event skins aren't, but many of the standard tier 4 skins are already minimum price. So any skin below that is the same value, even though it obviously is vastly easier to unbox, looks a lot worse by comparison, So there's no like comparison on that level, but it's still worth the same as far as marketplace is concerned, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you're trying to like trade up. And speaking of trading up 10 items that cost 10 credits to get another item that also costs 10 credits doesn't really make a lot of sense either. Therefore, black market, as far as I understand it, fills that gap by allowing you to get rid of items that you couldn't sell on the marketplace even if you wanted to. Either because, you know, no one's interested in buying them, or because there are so many of them already for sale that no one is gonna buy yours specifically, which is kind of the same thing. So yeah, that's basically designed to liquidate and like delete skins that are undesired, not only by you, but by the wider community as well. And it basically helps you to get something for items that usually only clog inventory space. You can turn them into either credits or, I think, vault vouchers. Very cool, I think. Next up is all the changes to the bomb and like all of the functionality around it. There were like tons of changes kind of adjacent to that. So let's talk about all of them. So first of all, we got rid of bomb getting deleted after round timer, which applied to both bomb in inventory as well as planted. That obviously has economy implications first of all. Like if you plant after time, that's more money, and you're rewarded for winning the round in proximity to the site, and enemies are punished for not waiting for after plant, effectively. It's definitely something that you can utilize if you know how the economy works, which previously wasn't possible. It used to be possible very far back in the day. I don't know why it was initially removed. And the other thing is obviously ninja defusing in the game was almost impossible, because there was no reason for Ts to get off the site after planting. Like, they could just stay on site almost until the bomb exploded, and then either kill the guy that was trying to defuse and the bomb would get deleted and they would survive, or they would just go away in the last second. That is now not a thing anymore. Like, if you stay on the site as the bomb explodes, even if you kill the last remaining CT when you're in the team, the bomb will still explode, which is definitely a thing to consider. And there's also a longer timer after the bomb has exploded, or the round has ended in general, gone up from 5 to 7, which should give players more time to either plant the bomb if they're in proximity to the site, or to save a few guns or a bit of utility, if they get the chance. Definitely all stuff that makes late round gameplay a bit more nuanced, because yeah, maybe you're not going to win the round, but maybe you can kill someone after time and wreck their economy, or maybe save some guns even. And then bomb timer itself was also increased from 40 to 45. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Time will tell. I think I just have to play more ranked with that enabled. So far from my maybe 5 to 10 games, I should have said 6, 7, shouldn't I? From the games that I've played so far, didn't feel super different, but there's definitely some maps where rotates are fairly long, where this now allows you to get to a site or attempt an afterplant or a retake that you previously couldn't. So that is cool. Then the light on the bomb, like the physical red blinking light, has first of all been increased in brightness, as far as I can tell. Haven't noticed that. Like, you would probably see it side by side. Haven't noticed that while playing. I'll be honest. And the color also changes from red to blue whenever the bomb is like currently actively being diffused, which is also a cool thing. Makes it a bit easier for players who don't have headphones, and it also allows you to like jiggle peek a corner, see, oh, bomb currently blue, that means guy is diffusing. Or if someone faked, you don't need to walk all the way out. You can just jiggle. Yo, is the bomb currently blue? No. All right, that means it isn't diffusing. That's all cool stuff, I feel. Might make the game a tiny bit easier, but by comparison to all the stuff that also makes the whole thing more complex and more difficult, I think that's a good enough trade-off. I'm not concerned about that becoming like too easy or something. Speaking of more complicated, there's a new, more complicated but also more interesting logic and game design around the bomb sound, which sounds not particularly interesting, equally as uninteresting as my aiming there, but it's actually a really good thing, because I didn't know that, but apparently the bomb beeping was never consistent beforehand. Like, it would be consistent between rounds and between players, but it wouldn't be identical between 2 matches, which don't ask me how that exactly works. That's not my domain. What I can tell you though, the way it works now is that there are multiple stages of the bomb effectively, and the different stages have different beeping patterns, and if you memorize which stage comes when, you can tell how long someone has for defuse or whether they are able to still defuse or not, just depending on which stage the bomb is currently in, and how far into that stage as well. Basically, Valorant has something very similar. I'm not concerned about this being overpowered. I just think it's really cool. It being finally consistent is like the most important thing, and that there is now additional functionality. I just got shat on, by the way. Then the next thing is probably the most controversial part of the update, as far as I can tell so far at least. It's friendly fire. I expected for this to be controversial, but not quite this much. Like, I've played a couple of games so far, and I've literally had multiple instances where my entire enemy team was just killing one another, like, constantly. Which is definitely not what the feature is designed for, obviously. And I think there's quite a bit of novelty to it so far, so people are just doing it because it's possible, not necessarily because there's a reason. So I think this will get less common as time goes on. But yeah, it's obviously annoying. I don't think the community's behavior should be in the way of actually improving the game, because I've already noticed it's way more difficult to push stuff as a T when all of a sudden you have 4 other teammates that could line up with your crosshair, where you could accidentally kill them. All of a sudden, you need to be careful where you throw nades. All of a sudden, you need to be careful on which stuff you can just mindlessly pre-fire and what you should probably like not spam, given your teammates currently walking at it. Tons of interesting factors that made the gameplay a lot more engaging for me personally, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I do understand for people that don't play full party that the whole team killing is obviously a problem, and I agree with that. And depending on what the penalties for it currently look like, they should perhaps be made a bit stricter. Supposedly they already have been made stricter. Let's see if that does something in the coming days. But yeah, it's definitely a matter of concern. I do think that there's a lot more nuance though compared to what most of the community has been propagating over the last like 1 or 2 days. I don't think, oh, this was so stupid of the developers to add, how could they? I'm not in that boat at all. As I said, I think just because the community is acting childish, just because there are more griefers currently, doesn't mean we should just not improve the game simply because people aren't currently compatible with it. That's like saying, oh, we have so many cheaters, why bother making an anti-cheat? Like, people are gonna cheat anyway. People don't like that perspective, but when it's applied to team damage, all of a sudden they think it's the best argument known to mankind, which I just think is inaccurate. I won't be here saying, oh yeah, this was perfect, there's no adjustments necessary. I'm not on that front. But I very much believe that it is an overall improvement for the game. I've seen the good sides of it more than the bad ones, in honesty. I've played most of my games full party, which is how I think ranked should be played to begin with. That's just kind of where I stand. And we had a lot of funny moments while playing with team damage. In a party, we didn't get penalties for it, which I also think is a very good idea. What's also smart, in my opinion, is that there's no melee team damage, which makes a lot of sense. Would kind of suck if, you just walk out of spawn and accidentally knife your teammate, or like walk into a smoke and knife your teammate. Like, that's stuff that just isn't really necessary, doesn't add anything gameplay-wise, I don't think. But, like, team damage as a whole is an upgrade, in my opinion. The next thing that I thought was also fairly controversial was the changes to grenades, in particular the Molotov changes, where many of the across-the-map lineups for the Molotov were removed. Like, I'm a support main. I waste a ton of time, or used to waste a ton of time on understanding how grenades work, how Molotovs work. And I do think that they don't have enough of an impact in the game as it stands. But I do also agree with the sentiment that it was too easy to just mindlessly yeet a Molotov across the map. I don't think that's a Molotov issue exclusively though. It's more just how overpowered CT aggression is. Because you're denying like an entire area of a map. Like take Soar mid, for example. Like if you molly the pool entrance for the Ts early into the round and then just rush out as a CT and take mid control, like you're very, very likely to be winning that round, just because of how much control you have, just because of how hard it is for Ts to get back through that. And that is something that should get patched. Ideally, it would get patched through map design, but Soar is one of the maps that is very open to utility, and just because something shouldn't be possible with an incendiary, it might still be possible with the smoke, and should remain possible. So I understand why it was handled this way, but I will add, this is just a symptom of a bigger issue. Just how powerful CT aggression is, and just how little nuance there is in rounds. Like you can throw the same util, push the same stuff for 10 rounds in a row, without ever trying to aim without ever trying to actually adjust to what your enemies are playing in particular. It's always like, oh yeah, just do the same thing, it's gonna work out. What the hell is this, chat? The next thing was a more bouncy utility. It's something I asked for specifically because it just makes self pop flashes and self util in general a lot easier. Especially with it having become harder as a result of a feature that we will touch on in a second. I think this is a good step to, you know, just give you more opportunities with pop flashes without having a teammate near you. And speaking of which, there's a ton of timer changes for the different grenades. I don't think that in itself, besides feeling a little different and changing some lineups slightly, I don't think that's a massive change, but it's a change nonetheless, so I'm gonna mention it. There's a few lineups that don't work anymore, but you can usually adjust them by just moving a tiny bit, so it's not the end of the world. And what I also think is a big W is that the velocity-based timers have been removed. Basically, before, you could take a flashbang and just throw it into a corner, and as soon as it stops, it pops instantly. What this basically meant is, there were no lineups necessary anymore for flashbangs, really, because you could just throw any flashbang that you wanted to just by looking at the ground or looking at a corner and throwing, rather than having a lineup where you're concerned about, oh, I need a safe throwing position, I need a good flashbang to begin with. Like all of these different concerns and different pain points that finding flashbang lineups usually has all been simplified by just going, oh yeah, throw at the ground for instant pop. And I think that whole thing was only really necessary because we previously didn't have dropping for grenades. But ever since that's been a feature, the whole insta-popping thing has been kind of redundant. And speaking of insta-popping, it also existed when flashes or smokes or frags collided with player models, which is also not a feature I enjoy particularly, because in many instances it felt like someone was missing a flashbang or missing a frag. Like they were overthrowing it like significantly. But just because it passed by a character, it still dealt damage or flash time. And that's also something that I don't like to see. And gameplay-wise, it also didn't make a lot of sense, because Molotov has always been designed to bounce off of players, while Molotov is also the only piece of utility that doesn't bounce off of ground. But the other way around, all the other grenades do bounce off the ground, but they don't bounce off of players. So you pretty much had a situation where the stuff that bounces from the ground explodes on contact with players, and the stuff that explodes on contact with the ground, that bounces from players. Like, it's kind of just unintuitive, if that makes sense. And I'm glad we are now at the point where all utility bounces from players, and Molotov is the only one that has the additional caveat of exploding instantly, no matter the timer, if it hits ground. It just makes sense on all fronts. For gameplay, for realism, I guess, for just continuity, it's just the better approach to it. And the other thing is the nerf for incendiary height, so basically that fire doesn't go up as far, which allows you in some situations to jump over Molotovs unscathed if you're already elevated. Keep in mind though, that doesn't have any implications for how high Molotov climbs. Like, that's a different thing. Like, it can still climb up the same, it just doesn't deal damage the same while it's already on a level. The next thing, very quickly, player indicators. This guy has 100 HP. That is much more useful in gameplay than if I knew which clan deck he was in. Not much else to say. Cool. I hope in the future we get more info in these indicators. Maybe early in the round we could have the money there. Maybe early in the round there could be a little icon for the Kevlar or the helmet, so you know from a glance whether your team is about to eco or full buy. That's all stuff that, in my opinion, is very useful. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the indicator, it can also just sit like in the buy menu or whatever, so I'm not very concerned about that. Then the next big thing is settings. I can just show you this live. We now have a settings code for our whole control tab and a settings code for our layout, which is the HUD. I can assure you, as someone that has switched settings for videos before, it was incredibly annoying to do before. Like, settings is not that big of a deal. Like, you can just write down all of your settings, but especially the HUD was incredibly annoying. I'm very glad this is now automated, and you can now consistently do that. And that now also means I can make a settings video that I don't have to change within the next few updates, as far as I know. Which, yeah, that's a good thing. Haha, guys, it's me. I forgot to talk about the view model. So, yeah, you can switch to view model now. You can do either just a permanent switch to either side, or you have a button where you can switch it live. Back to the other thing. And if you thought that's all with the update, no, it isn't. There's so much more stuff, but usually like smaller changes that are more fragmented between different aspects of the game. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you should probably check out the update yourself on Testflight, or look at one of the videos from Parsu, Noodles, everyone else. All the videos that I know from content creators for COPS, I will link them in the description. If you want to know more about the update, or want to see a more tactical or factual or strategic or number focused approach on it, look at their stuff. They probably did all of that stuff way better than me just sitting in a TDM and waffling for like a few minutes. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like the channel, subscribe the video, follow my OnlyFans, and use code PHiNiX to get up to 30%, I think 28% it is now, cheaper credits in the hub. So yeah, do that. Have a great day, and see ya.